Hello guys, in today's video, I'm going to share with you the top 5 most painful things about having braces. So everything that I'm going to say today in this video are all based on my own experience. And it can be a little bit different from yours, and that's totally okay. Now, this video isn't meant to scare you, but I just want to give you a realistic idea of what you might go through, and so that you might be prepared in any cases that will happen. I'll be counting them down from the least to the most painful, and these are all just based on my pain tolerance. And so let's start with the power chains. For those who do not know or not familiar with power chains, these are elastic bands which are connected, and they are used to close the gaps in between your teeth. They can cause a significant pressure and soreness on your teeth and gums once they are applied, but it just lasts for days, so it's not something that people are really bothered about, especially me. Now, relating in my case and on why I just placed these chains at the least painful one, it's because I think I've never really used power chains in my treatment, especially with my first ortho treatment. Because as you know, my teeth were crowded at that time. And since it's crowded, that's the reason why my teeth just flared up. And I think there's no reason for my dentist or orthodontist to use the power chains. And right now, for my second treatment, I do have them, but most of the time, the power chains were just placed here at the front and at the lower front of my teeth. And so at the back and the closing of the gaps, really, in between the gaps that my premolars left, we haven't really used the power chain yet. And so in my case, it's not that difficult or painful. Although I heard and I've also seen braces videos stating that the power chains are painful, but yours might be different. So if ever you have the power chains, you may comment down below and say I disagree with you because I've undergone so much pain with that. Now moving on to the fourth place, it's kind of interchangeable with the power chains, and that is the elastics or elastic bands. The elastic bands are used to correct your bite and jaw alignment. They look like a small rubber, usually a circle shape, and sometimes it's transparent. Most of the time, it's color white. And these are placed onto your braces, and the placement of these bands is dependent on the goal of your orthodontist. For example, you have an overbite, underbite, so elastic bands does the job to correct those. The pulling sensation of these bands can be uncomfortable, and also the soreness that it can give into your teeth and into your gums. So most of the time it lasts for more than like a week, depending on the case of your teeth. I'm gonna share with you my experience with the elastic bands. So I had these elastic bands with my first ortho treatment, and I think that time I only had them when I was about to finish my treatment. And I think one of the reasons why I included it in this list is because aside from it being painful, most of the time you have to change your elastics every time you eat. So I eat three times a day. And so every time I remove them, I always replace the elastic bands with the new ones. The new rubbers are not stretched, so there's always a new pressure and it's a bit more tight compared to when you've been wearing them for a few hours already. So if I'm gonna rate the pain of having elastics from 1 to 10, I would rate it to be, in my case, 7. Yeah, it's painful somehow. Now, moving on to the third on my list is the spacers. I recalled the first time that I had the braces, I have to have them for like a week. And that was one of the most horrible times of my life having these braces because it was so painful. But first, let's talk about what spacers do. These small rubber-like thing, they are inserted in between your teeth to create space. Maybe there are other reasons why spacers are there, but as in my own experience, I needed the spacers because the molar rings are needed to be placed on my on around my molars, and so there weren't enough space there, so the spacers were needed. In terms of the spacers, when the first time that it was placed in between the teeth, you won't really feel much pain except for the pressure that you can feel because it's kind of moving your teeth. The only time that it will start to feel painful is when you know that there's already a gap that is building up. And I think the most painful one is when those spacers dig into the gums. And one thing that was difficult to do is aside from you cannot see it, you cannot get it. Maybe you can use tweezers, but make sure that your tweezers are clean or sanitized. But yeah, that is one of the most painful things that I've experienced because it dug in deep into my gums and I cannot find it. And so I think I waited for like 2 days or 3 days before I removed them. I actually removed them because that time I wasn't in my city. I cannot go back to my ortho. Now moving on to the second on my list is tooth extractions. In some cases, your orthodontist might need to extract some teeth to make room for your other teeth to move. And the procedure itself is, I would say, a bit uncomfortable. So we all know that when we go extractions, we have the anesthesia, right? But once that anesthesia goes away or just slowly fizzles out, then that's the time that you will feel the pain. And most of the time, there will be soreness, there will be uncomfortable feeling of having those holes where your teeth were supposed to be. But yeah, it takes a few days or maybe a week or two for your gums to heal well. So yeah, I think we all agree for how painful it is to have our teeth extracted. So aside from the pain, we also have the feeling of like somehow regret because we have to have our teeth extracted, and also because of the healing time that we have to go through whenever we have these extractions. Now we're going to reveal the top one that I find the most painful of them all, and that is the poking wire. So for the overall pain that I've been experiencing, I would say that the poking wire has really topped all of those in my list. And I think one of the reasons why I would say that poking wire is the most painful is because I frequently experience them. And so far, the poking wire really had bruised my cheeks, especially at the back. So it takes effort to go to my orthodontist and maybe you also to have those poking wire fixed. And that is the reason why I always recommend that you have ortho wax because somehow it lessens the pain. Also, even though the orthodontic wax helps, there are still instances wherein if you place the ortho wax into the poking wire, there always a tendency that it slips or it just falls off and it doesn't hold that much, even though you've placed a lot of ortho wax. And yeah, I think if I'm gonna rate the poking wire issue from 1 at least to the 10, I'm gonna rate it to be 11. 11 for my experience, but maybe yours is different because maybe you're not really the type of person who deals with this issue. But yeah, it's it's so painful, the poking wire, and they're annoying. Also, before I forget, the problem with the poking wire should be addressed immediately, or you have to go to your orthodontist to have it fixed because most of the time, if there's a problem with the poking wire, it would be either it is out of the way or it's not attached into your bracket, or most of the time that those are the cases. So if that happens, then there is a huge impact to your treatment. And so again, you have to go to your orthodontist ASAP, because they will have to deal with it, because of course they also have the right tools to have them fixed. All right guys, I hope you find this video helpful, and if you do, you might want to like, and if you agree or disagree, you might also leave a comment below. And also, I post monthly updates of my braces, so if you want to be updated, or maybe you're just curious of what's happening with my treatment, then you might like to subscribe to the channel. Anyway guys, see you on my videos, and hope you had a good day.